Across the river from Manhattan is Staten Island. It's New York's most conservative borough and the hardest hit by Sandy. The storm killed 23 people here.
Let's see if the Best Western in Bay Ridge has already signed up to accept FEMA. If they haven't, let's get that done.
Staten Island's Congressman, Republican Michael Grimm, is a skeptic when it comes to climate change. But he says this devastation is unlike anything he's ever seen.
I don't think ever trained to see your friends and neighbors in total despair, hopelessness. And it just hit me harder.
One of the things that was interesting, the governor said this was a wake-up call about climate specifically. And I'm curious just what your reaction is to that.
The climate overall has changed. But let's leave out the part of whether it's man-made or not, because I don't think the science is there to tell us what's causing it.
Grimm's answer doesn't surprise me. I'm used to politicians, especially Republicans, dodging questions about climate change.
Climate change is real, and let's do something about it. The worst thing in the world is not losing an election. The worst thing in the world is losing your soul. When you know there are things you believe in and you're not willing to stand for them.
Since leaving Congress, Inglis is traveling the country, trying to convince Republicans they can't keep denying reality forever. And Grimm is exactly the kind of Republican Inglis is trying to reach.
I was from maybe the reddest district in the reddest state. When I was first in Congress, I totally poo-pooed climate change. I said it was nonsense. But then I got on Science Committee when I got back to Congress, went to the South Pole, saw the ice core drillings, saw the evidence. What do you think it is that we Republicans have gotten in this spot of basically distrusting the scientists, you know?
I'm not so sure that it's distrusting the scientists. What Republicans are afraid of is if we give more credence to climate change, that it's going to be, you know, the call, the cry for more rules, more regulations.
Yeah, I agree completely. We're trying to change the conversation. We want to change it to a conversation about reasonable risk avoidance. You know, 98 doctors tell you to treat your son this way. 2 say no this other. It's not conservative to go with the 2. And that's really sort of where we are in climate science.
The political constraints, I think, are a lot bigger than most people would understand. Yeah. And they're very real.
But you're also in a place that's had a different experience. You've had people that have been inundated.
A detailed analysis by the research organization Climate Central shows how global warming made more homes vulnerable to a storm like Sandy. Without sea level rise, flooding from Sandy would have reached about 8 feet above high tide. When you factor in that extra foot of sea level, most of which is due to climate change, the differences seem small at first. A block here, a few houses there, but over miles of densely populated coast, it adds up. In New York City alone, climate change put the homes of some 75,000 additional people in the path of the storm surge. And it's only going to get worse. Scientists say that by the end of the century, some parts of the coast could see Sandy-level storm surges every single year.
Get you back in home, back home.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
Last time you and I spoke, you said the jury was still out on the climate science. Do you still feel that way?
You know, after speaking with Bob Inglis, it made me do my own research. You know, I looked at some of the stuff that he sent over, my staff looked at. The vast majority of respected scientists say, you know, that it's conclusive. The evidence is clear. So I don't think the jury is out. The problem that we're gonna have right now, there's no oxygen left in the room in Washington right now for another big debate. That's the reality. You know, between immigration and tax reform.
I don't disagree, but let me ask you.
It's just not gonna take front stage.
If you told me there's too much other stuff going on in Washington right now, we can't get Sandy relief, you would say, sorry, excuse my language, bullshit.
Right.
And what I'm saying to you is, the people that live on this island are there's gonna be more storms, and they're gonna be worse, unless we get our act together. I mean, can you sit down with fellow Republicans and say, look, come to my district.
We had water that in places it shouldn't have been.
Yes, but not while everyone is saying immigration, taxes, and members of Congress don't want to talk about anything else.
And 20 years from now, I wonder how you are going to look back at yourself as a member of the United States Congress if history unfolds in the way that I think the science says it does and makes these distinctions between the people that actually had the fortitude to stand up and say the unpopular thing and those who didn't. History judges those people incredibly harshly. It puts them in two categories. It puts them in the categories of people that met the biggest challenge of their time and people who didn't.
You know, if politicians don't feel any support underneath them, they don't lead. The thing that encourages me is I know that a good number know better.
God bless, stay healthy. All right, be well. It's good to see you.
They know that we've really got to pay attention to the science.